Have you ever noticed how the world can adore a celebrity so much, yet completely overlook the moments when that person was hurting the most? Johnny Depp is the perfect example of this. He's one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood, but behind the fame, there were dark moments people simply ignored. And what's surprising is how relatable some of these moments actually are. Because if you've ever felt misunderstood or judged before anyone took time to hear your side, then his story will feel familiar. You're not alone in that feeling, and neither was he. So today, we're taking a calm and honest look at those moments. No gossip. No blame. Just the human side that often gets lost behind movie posters and red carpets. And we're keeping it simple and clear, so you can follow the story easily and stay connected all the way through. Let's start with something most people never realized. Johnny grew up in a storm. His childhood wasn't easy. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't something anyone would want to live through. And those early emotional wounds stayed with him for years. But when you're famous, people tend to focus on your spotlight instead of the person standing inside it. They see the charm, the humor, the characters he plays, but they miss the quiet struggles happening behind the scenes. One of the biggest things the world ignored was his lifelong battle with anxiety. It's hard to imagine someone as confident and charismatic as Johnny dealing with overwhelming anxiety, but he did. While fans saw the relaxed interviews and the playful energy, they didn't notice the small signs of panic that appeared off camera. And just imagine what that feels like. Millions expect you to entertain them, but you're fighting your own mind the entire time. That kind of pressure doesn't magically disappear just because the world loves you. Another moment people overlooked was the toxic environments he survived throughout his life. The emotional chaos he experienced when he was young didn't just fade away. It shaped him. It made him more tolerant of unhealthy situations later on. But instead of asking why he put up with certain things, people labeled him. They assumed he was being dramatic or unpredictable. They didn't realize he had been taught to survive chaos long before Hollywood ever entered the picture. Then there's the weight of fame. People often imagine fame as a cure-all. But the truth is, fame does not heal wounds. If anything, it magnifies them. Johnny became a global icon, but inside, he still carried the same fears he had when he was young. He still worried about not being good enough. He still felt the pressure of being watched constantly. And when the media created scandals or rumors, very few paused to think about the emotional toll that took on someone already battling inner storms. And of course, his relationships, both personal and professional, broke down in ways the world judged harshly. People pointed fingers. They chose sides. They mocked him. They repeated rumors. But almost no one asked what pain came before those moments. No one asked what emotional damage may have led to certain reactions. It's always easier to judge someone's dark days than to understand where those days truly began. A big myth people believe is that money and fame make everything better. But they don't. They don't erase trauma. They don't erase anxiety. They don't erase years of being misunderstood. And that's exactly why so many of Johnny's dark moments were ignored. People simply assumed he was fine. But here's something many fans don't know: music is what kept him grounded. When life became overwhelming, he didn't call an agent or step into the spotlight. He picked up a guitar. Music was his escape. His therapy. His way of calming the noise inside. But because he did this privately, most people had no idea. Experts say something interesting about people who grow up in unpredictable environments. They often learn to hide their emotions so well that others assume they're perfectly fine. Johnny did exactly that, not because he wanted to fool anyone, but because that's how he learned to survive. Another expert note: creative people often feel emotions stronger than others. That sensitivity is what made Johnny an incredible actor. It's why his characters feel so real. But the downside is that emotional pain hits harder too. That part of him was misunderstood by the world. And even though he had access to resources and treatment, one of the things that helped him the most wasn't medication or fame. It was routine. Simple structure. Slow mornings. Quiet time. Long walks. Time away from noise. Anyone who has ever dealt with emotional heaviness knows how powerful those small habits are. They create space to breathe. They help rebuild balance. So now that you understand these moments, here's something to think about. Why do you think the world ignored them? Was it the fame? The headlines? Or maybe it was just easier for people to judge him instead of understanding him. Tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if this story made you see Johnny in a new way, check out my other video about what he quietly carried in his heart for years. It reveals another side of him that most people still don't know. Before you go, if you enjoyed this narration, a like or comment really helps. It keeps this channel growing and lets me share more stories like this with you. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. More powerful stories are on the way. See you in the next one.